Why do colleges need lecturers? I don't even know where to begin with that question. Before that, let me introduce who I am, what I'm doing now, and I'll explain what was happening to me in the past and why West Lothian College and my lecturers were so vital in helping me turn my life around. And without them, I think I may be dead right now, and that's no exaggeration. Colleges need lecturers. You cannot strip them of that title, of that meaning, of that position. You cannot relegate them. For anyone who doesn't know who I am, my name is Aidan Martin. I'm an author of a book that was released last year, looking at the trauma I went through, and my addiction, and my recovery, and many other things. I'm an activist in society, tackling the drugs death crisis in Scotland. I'm a campaigner for mental health. I spent the last 2 years working as an addictions advocacy worker. I'm a few months away from finishing a master's degree in social work. In 2017, I got an undergraduate degree, social sciences, criminology and sociology. I'm a father of two beautiful kids, and I've just finally bought my first house, aged 35. And there's many other amazing things happening in my life. These things would not be happening for me if it was not for my lecturers at West Lothian College. I don't say that lightly. I am an addict. I'm an addict in recovery now. But when I went to West Lothian College, I was still very much in and out of that lifestyle. Still struggling with my mental health. Still struggling with addiction. Still traumatised. I grew up in a violent housing scheme. Didn't know who my biological father was. He was in and out of prison. Wasn't in my life. My sense of identity was messed up. My sense of purpose. I had no belief, no self-esteem, no competence, no self-value. I went to high school where I wasn't educated. The high school I went to finished bottom of the league tables for educational attainment, behaviour, attendance. I left age 16 as factory fodder, with no qualifications, no future, no hope, no chance to get on the housing market, barely any chance to get social housing, a lot of trauma, a lot of poor mental health and serious addiction problems. And I grew up in a lad culture where men like me were taught not to express our feelings. So when I arrived at West Lothian College in my early to mid 20s, it was a big job for those lecturers. They turned my whole life around. I would go as far as to say they saved my life. It wasn't just the theoretical understanding I gained on subjects like sociology, criminology and psychology, which helped me understand myself and the society I grew up in, and all the people I grew up with and why we ended up how we did. It was the nurturing, the belief they put into me as a human being, that I could be someone, that I could have a future. No one where I came from went to university, and no one where I came from would have even talked about being an author. I don't say these things to show off. I'm talking about these things because it's so unrealistic for someone who came from my background to be doing what I'm doing now. Without that intervention with the college and with my lecturers, this would not be happening in my life right now. And I like to believe I've gone on to do good things and help other people. I wouldn't have had the tools to do that if it wasn't for my college and my lecturers. You can't relegate lecturers. If the Scottish Government has the values they claim to have, you're destroying the people's belief in those values you say you have if you're stripping lecturers of their title. Let me be very clear. When I got to that college, I'd been failed by the system as far as education at high school, as far as growing up in a very tough, violent housing scheme, as far as being born into a lad culture where all we knew was violence, drugs, pulling women, sticking your fingers up to authority. I went to that college and I had to unlearn stuff and I had to relearn stuff. And those lecturers took time with me that I never got at high school. I left high school thinking I was daft. I didn't know I was good or passionate at writing. That college taught me to believe in that ability. They planted seeds and they nurtured them. And now I've gone on to do things way beyond my wildest dreams. Way beyond my wildest dreams. Those lecturers changed the entire course of my life. I might be back in my addiction, dead or incarcerated right now if it wasn't for them. They tidied up the mess that other parts of society caused. And I'm not the only person they've done that for. Now don't get me wrong, as a recovering addict, I look at a lot of mistakes I made in society too. But I carried a lot of trauma. And like I say, I grew up in a very violent housing scheme. And at times in my life we didn't have a lot. And I feel like I was failed by my high school. I was failed as far as education. In my mid-20s, that college picked me back up and put me back together again. Colleges need lecturers